Part 8. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 71. The most elite doctors from the second hospital just watched a medical miracle. Self-healing. Complete self-healing. After observing for a while, the vital signs were all normal, but the patient was still unconscious. It seemed that there was no need to stay in the operating room anymore, and he could just be transferred to the general ward for observation. Wen Qiao didn't know how long he had been unconscious, because this experience was extremely terrifying, completely different from sleeping. He was unconscious, as if dead. Suddenly she felt that she could breathe again, and she sat up suddenly. There was a familiar tall figure sitting by the gloomy window, and she instinctively reached out and hugged him. She was trembling all over, it was the fear of the rest of her life. The maximum period of time away from Fu Nanli is 13 days. Once the 13th day is up, she will really have physical problems. 13 is not a good number. Jesus was betrayed and killed by Judas, the 13th disciple. So Westerners hate the number 13. Now she also hates 13. She hugged Fu Nanli tightly, her voice trembling, "Don't leave me. She doesn't want to die yet, she is still young, and she still has a lot of things to do. Without her, her mother and brother would be bullied." She knew she was afraid. Fu Nanli had never seen her so afraid of sticking to him. It was a fear engraved in her bones. She didn't know what she had gone through, and her heart tightened inexplicably. His broad hand gently stroked her back, and his voice was low and warm, "Don't leave." Wen Qiao hugged him tightly, like a drowning man clinging to the only driftwood in his hand. Being relied on by the other party will make the person being relied on have endless desire for protection. Fu Nanli hugged her back and his voice became gentler, "It's okay." Everything came into view in the eyes of Zhuangyan, who was standing at the door. There was anger in his eyes, and his fists were clenched tightly. Isn't it him that Wen Qiao likes? Before the college entrance examination, she always looked at him secretly and stared at him absent-mindedly. No matter where he went, he could not escape her longing and obsessed eyes. Why did she give up her feelings so quickly? Why could she suddenly fall in love with another man? "Sending you a hug." Fu Nanli could feel a scorching gaze behind him, and turned around with a hint of displeasure. "Can you leave now?" Only then did Wen Qiao realize that Zhuangyan was also in the ward, but his body was still hanging on Fu Nanli's body. After the experiment was completed, she couldn't live without Fu Nanli. She was like a fish in a dry lake now, and Fu Nanli was the source of her survival. She was so frightened that she wished she could never leave him for a moment. In Zhuangyan's eyes, it was very dazzling. He walked to the end of the bed, looked at Wen Qiao, who was weak and dependent on others, and asked her, "Who is he to you?" His tone made Wen Qiao want to laugh. It's like the tone of a real boyfriend questioning his girlfriend after catching him in bed. "Zhuangyan? Why should he? He's my boyfriend." She clasped Fu Nanli's hand and faced Zhuangyan's pressing eyes without evading him. When did it happen? He was filled with inexplicable anger, just wanting to get a definite answer from her. "Last year, in June." "June? Didn't you just write me a love letter in June?" He was really crazy, he even asked about such a thing, acting like a child who couldn't get candy, and he couldn't control his words and actions. A love letter, the girl looked weak due to illness. Her face was pale, but her eyes were not weak. The redness in her eyes was left by the extreme fear just now, and she looked pitiful. "I wasn't thrown away by you. Throw it into the trash can, and you watch those busybodies dig out the love letters from the trash can and post them on the bulletin board. Didn't you say that I, Wen Qiao, deserve to like you? Didn't I let the whole school laugh at me for a year? Why did you bring up the love letter at this time?" Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 72. Why do you, Zhuangyan, talk to me in a questioning tone? Zhuangyan was so embarrassed by her questioning that his face turned pale. He regretted his words and deeds, and complained about why her love for him was so short-lived and fragile. When he rejected her, she immediately turned around and fall into the arms of others. What kind of love is this? With a bang, he left the ward, slamming the door and leaving, sounding like he was in a bad mood. Wen Qiao was a little envious. Zhuangyan's self-centered personality was unique to children who grew up in a privileged family. Everyone turned to him and tried to please him, and he would never feel that he had done anything wrong. Even if you realize that you have made a mistake, you will still act like, I know I was wrong, why don't you forgive me? She doesn't. The hurt in Wen Qiao's heart is truly unforgettable. The pain Zhuangyan gave her will never heal. The injury suffered by the 18-year-old girl will stay with her for the rest of her life. It was still raining outside the window, and Fu Nanli squeezed her face with his warm, dry hands. Why did she faint suddenly? Wen Qiao held his hand. What did the doctor say? The doctors said the cause was unknown and they had never seen such a case. Wen Qiao said nonchalantly, it's probably because I haven't eaten and my blood sugar is a little low. It's okay. Why did Zhuangyan send you here? There was a hint of suppressed displeasure in the deep voice. Wen Qiao said cautiously, Sulu asked me to go to the coffee shop. Zhuangyan should have gone to see her. They have a good relationship. He happened to see me fainting and sent me to the hospital. Sulu. Well, my father Wen Jianmin's current wife Zhong Hui brought the daughter to the Wen family. You should have seen her last interview at Yanjian. The second to last one was the one who played the piano. Fu Nanli, I have no impression. Wen Qiao, oh. So she fainted after meeting Sulu, right? Wen Qiao, yeah. Fu Nanli nodded, I understand, I will go for a full physical examination tomorrow. Wen Qiao touched his neck uncomfortably, that's not necessary, is it? Have. Wen Qiao nodded, okay, if you say yes, then check it out. Can you rent a house outside? Fu Nanli obviously couldn't keep up with her thinking, huh? You usually live in the villa in Xiaotangshan with your family. I guess it's not convenient to see you. Can you live outside? After all, she was a liar, and she would see less of his family if she could. But now she wants to be with him and doesn't want to leave him for a moment. So, why are you so clingy all of a sudden? She had accidentally expressed her eagerness to go on a business trip before, but suddenly she seemed to be a different person again. He really couldn't fathom the girl's thoughts. Wen Qiao dragged his big hand, because you have been away on business for so many days, I found that I really miss you. I'm afraid she will have to lie with all her strength in the future. She is just trying to save her life. Fu Nanli narrowed his eyes and looked at her. Miss him? She didn't take the initiative to contact him either. Are you okay? The sickly girl's voice became softer, with an unconscious coquettish tone. Her eyes were watery, she stared at him pitifully. She was soft and charming, no one could resist her softness. Well, I'll let someone arrange it. It's closer to your home, okay. Wen Qiao grabbed his arm, almost climbing on top of him, and nodded, okay, okay. Thanks for your support. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 73. Fu Nanli found that Wen Qiao was really clinging to him. When she went to the bathroom, he went to the corridor to smoke and called Su Shen to arrange a residence for him close to Shuiying Road. I took 2 puffs on the cigarette and just said a few words to Su Shen when I heard her panicked voice coming from the corridor. Fu Nanli, Fu Nanli. An urgent and frightened voice. Su Shen on the other end also heard it and joked, "Captain, Xiao Wen really can't live without you for a while." Fu Nanli said solemnly, "Find a good house for me within 3 days and hang up." Su Shen was a little helpless. Half of the real estate in Haikan and even the whole country belonged to your Fu family. Why did you, Captain Fu, want to find a house outside and let him get it? Forget it, whatever the captain says is whatever it is. Fu Nanli pinched the cigarette butt, and the safety exit door was suddenly pushed open. She hurried to him, her eyes filled with moisture and clear panic, and grabbed his wrist. Her hands were trembling and her voice was trembling. "Don't leave." He didn't understand why she changed so much after a business trip, but he still enjoyed her clinginess. He held her in his arms and stroked her long hair. "I'm not leaving yet. I'm arranging a place to stay." Only then did Wen Qiao realize that he was too surprised. This would make Fu Nanli feel strange. Afraid of death? Who is not afraid of death? What's more, she is someone who has passed through the gate of hell. The feeling of being completely unconscious is too scary. She has too many worries in this world. Sulu was still waiting at the door of the cafe. Zhuangyan called her and said he was coming to see her. She waited until 8 or 9 o'clock, and the rain was pouring outside. She felt uneasy, and she believed that Wen Qiao had set a trap for her, or that Wen Qiao had some terminal disease. Thinking of the latter, Sulu's eyes flashed with an inexplicable light. A taxi stopped outside the floor-to-ceiling window. When she saw Zhuangyan get out of the car, her heart skipped a beat. There were not many people in the cafe. Zhuangyan pushed open the door and walked in. Sulu stood up uneasily, with worry on her face. "Is Wen Qiao sick?" Zhuangyan's eyes were sinister. "Did you curse her?" Sulu's heart sank. She seemed to be fine. "That's just pretending. Wen Qiao is really a deep city." How could I curse her? How could she faint properly when she's not sick?" Most of Zhuangyan's t-shirt was wet. He didn't hold an umbrella when he left the hospital, and he didn't hold an umbrella when he got off the car. His thoughts were confused, and his life was messed up by Wen Qiao, so he couldn't think of holding an umbrella. "You know best how she fainted. What medicine did you give her? Maybe it is some kind of medicine that cannot be detected by medicine. There have been similar cases in the past few years, rare metals and malignant chemical elements. Sulu can let others spread the rumor that Wen Qiao is a free-spirited woman, so what else can't she do?" He was so sweet-hearted that he couldn't believe it. Sulu was about to cry, tears welling up in her eyes. "Zhuangyan, in your eyes, am I this kind of person? Aren't you?" Sulu almost swore. She just arrived at the cafe and hasn't had time to drink anything. "How can I drug her? Can I drug her through the air? Do I have such great ability? Zhuangyan, why are you still being drugged by her, deceived? She must have been faking it just to frame me." The doctor made it clear that her breathing was weak, her heartbeat dropped to 40, and she had to use a defibrillator and pacemaker. "Is she so capable that she teamed up with the entire hospital to lie to me? Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me." Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 74. Sulu trembled all over. "I don't know anything, I haven't done anything, and I have a clear conscience." She was so deceived by Wen Qiao, and she regretted it. She knew she shouldn't have asked Wen Qiao out today. "Do you think I will believe you?" Sulu burst into tears. "If you don't believe it, you can ask the coffee shop to check the surveillance video. Do you think I drugged her? Am I crazy? It's illegal for me to do this. Don't I know? There's no need for that." The look he looked at her was full of defensiveness and disgust, and he turned away so decisively. Sulu's legs went weak and she slumped down on the chair. That look made her scared and desperate. Zhuangyan looked at Wen Qiao with complicated eyes before. In fact, She always knew that Zhuang Yan might like Wen Qiao in his heart, but he also cared about her reputation. The young man couldn't lose face. His good brother supported and teased him and said, "Wen Qiao, she deserves it too." The way Zhuang Yan looked at her was different from the way he looked at Wen Qiao. There was no complexity, only naked disgust. She was angry and aggrieved, so she went to the second hospital and found Wen Qiao's ward. Fu Nanli had gone out to buy dinner for her, and Wen Qiao was the only one in the ward. Seeing Su Lu's aggrieved look, Wen Qiao wanted to laugh again. "Wen Qiao, you are just pretending, right?" There was still a needle inserted into the back of Wen Qiao's hand. Fu Nanli was worried. In order to reassure the young master, the doctor gave her a bottle of glucose. She raised her hand. "If your eyesight is bad, go to the ophthalmology department. It happens to be in the hospital, which is very convenient." Su Lu looked at her with red eyes. "That's also your own body's problem. You didn't eat, had hypoglycemia, or some other reason. Go tell Zhuang Yan that your fainting has nothing to do with me." Wen Qiao leaned against the bed comfortably and looked at her with a half-smile. "Zhuang Yan? Why should I tell him?" "Because he thought I was the one who caused you to be like this. When you asked me to drink coffee, you planned to frame me, didn't you?" Su Lu's heart trembled. "What nonsense are you talking about? I already told you that I want to apologize to you, because I accidentally revealed the 2 million to your uncle, so I want to apologize to you." "Oh, are you not careful? I went to the newsstand to buy a black card and send it to my aunt. Is this accidental or deliberate?" Su Lu's face turned pale. How could Wen Qiao know so clearly? "I was wrong in this matter, and I admit my mistake to you. But you and I both know what happened today. I am innocent. Now Zhuang Yan has determined that I poisoned you. How could I do such a thing?" Wen Qiao looked at her casually. "Then, why does Zhuang Yan think so firmly that you are such a snake-hearted person? You must have done something cruel to make him have such an impression of you." "You said so?" "No." Su Lu knew that the video must have been sent to Zhuang Yan by Wen Qiao. Wen Qiao suddenly started a war. She thought she had been in the dominant position, but she didn't expect to be chased and beaten by Wen Qiao until she was disarmed and embarrassed. "I haven't done anything. I'm doing well and I have nothing to feel guilty about." Wen Qiao sneered. "Then go talk to Zhuang Yan. Since you are so upright, Zhuang Yan should believe you. If she still wants to pretend, let her pretend. In terms of acting, she, Wen Qiao, is also a capable person. Who is afraid of whom?" Su Lu left angrily, and Wen Qiao really thought that she couldn't survive without her, and she must reverse her image in Zhuang Yan's heart. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me. The boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 75. Not long after, Fu Nanli returned to the ward with a lunchbox and bought Qinfangzai's mushroom and chicken porridge. When the lid was opened, the aroma was fragrant. Just as the bottle of water was finished, the nurse pulled out the needle and said a few words to Fu Nanli. She blushed deeply. Who can see such a handsome and noble man without blushing and his heartbeat beating? Fu Nanli pressed the cotton ball on the eye of the needle for her, and Wen Qiao muttered, "There's no need to be hospitalized, I'd better go home. Observe him for one night. If nothing happens, he will be discharged tomorrow." "Are you leaving tonight?" she asked cautiously. "Do you want me to leave?" Wen Qiao grabbed his thumb, his body movements full of dependence. "Like an abandoned wild cat. I don't want you to leave." He threw the blood-stained cotton ball into the medical trash can nearby and said in a deep voice, "I'm not leaving, let's have dinner first." After washing his hands, he had dinner with her. The sound of rain outside was accompanied by the sound of thunder. He was like a quick-acting life-saving pill for her. Sitting next to her, she felt extremely at ease. Fu Nanli arranged a VIP ward for Wen Qiao, which was as luxurious as staying in a high-end hotel. After washing up, a problem arose. "Where do you sleep?" Fu Nanli glanced at the sofa, meaning that he could just spend one night on the sofa. Wen Qiao felt that he had been wronged by the young master, and patted his bed. "How about you sleep on the bed?" Before he could tell me that I was sleeping on the sofa, the man's eyes suddenly became turbulent, his Adam's apple rolled heavily, and his voice was a little rough. "Since you are sick, just be calm. This girl is always flirting without realizing it, and he really suffers." Wen Qiao panicked. "I mean, you sleep on the bed and I sleep on the sofa. Where did he want to go? Could it be that he thought she invited him to sleep with her?" Fu Nanli looked at her face, which turned crimson, and spread to her slender neck. His eyes became darker and darker. He turned off the headlights, leaving only the corridor light in the entrance hall. "I'll go out to smoke a cigarette. You can go to sleep first." Standing in front of the window on the stairs, he smoked 3 cigarettes in a row before suppressing the inexplicable throbbing in his heart. Uncle Li called, and his voice was soft. "Master, have you returned? Madam is still waiting for you. Tell her I won't come back tonight, there's something going on outside." "Is there anything important?" Over there, Uncle Li heard his young master tut, and knew that he had exceeded the rules, so he quickly said, "Okay, I'll just say it's the airline's business." After hanging up the phone, Uncle Li sighed thoughtfully. Beside him was Aunt Jean, who had been taking care of Fu Nanli, and asked him what was wrong. Uncle Li told Aunt Jean about Wen Qiao with a solemn expression. Aunt Jean was speechless for a while, and then said after a while, "The young master is not so gullible. Why did he believe the little girl when she said she was his girlfriend? Even if he forgets some things, his temperament will not change much. Ah, when I came back that day, I still looked cold and cold. The bad thing is that he just believed it and was very interested in that little girl. Is the little girl beautiful?" "Beautiful, very beautiful." Aunt Jean clasped her hands, worried. "What is the little girl thinking about approaching our young master?" Wen Qiao originally wanted to wait for Fu Nanli to come back before sleeping, but he couldn't wait for him and fell asleep in a daze. She didn't sleep well, and she felt as if someone was sitting by the bed looking at her with hot eyes. She turned over, grabbed the big hand beside the bed, mumbled "Don't leave," and fell asleep again. Suddenly I felt a heat on my lips. Please vote for recommendation. I'd like to express my gratitude to you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 76. When he woke up in the morning, it was still raining outside and the sky was cloudy. He was sitting on the sofa by the window, his posture upright and upright. Except for his eyes closed, you couldn't tell that he was sleeping. As soon as she moved, he woke up, and suddenly opened his eyes, and the girl's bright smile met his eyes. "You're awake." Wen Qiao pushed away the thin quilt on his body and sat next to him. There were no wrinkles on his suit. It was obvious that he had been sleeping in this position. Wen Qiao felt a little guilty. He shouldn't have been left here. He couldn't sleep well. "Well, I'll arrange for the doctor to do a physical examination for you." His voice was a little hoarse. Wen Qiao was sent to the physical examination department. After a physical examination, he was in good health and nothing happened. Fu Nanli was relieved. Wen Qiao was sent to the alley by Fu Nanli. The Maybach was parked in front of the old house and looked eye-catching. The adults passing by to buy breakfast always stopped to take a look at the luxury car. Wen Qiao felt a little on pins and needles. Fu Nanli stroked the bracelet on her wrist. There was a small card on it with his name and contact information. He was satisfied that he was her emergency contact. Seeing that there was no one in front or behind the alley, Wen Qiao quickly reached out to push the door to get out of the car. His wrist was pulled by the man's strong force. Set a shortcut key on your phone. If anything happens in the future, call me as soon as possible. He was still concerned about the fact that Zhuang Yan sent her to the hospital. Wen Qiao nodded, yeah, okay. After saying that, he hurriedly got out of the car and returned home holding an umbrella. She sat at the desk, looked at the circled date on the desk calendar, exhaled, and tapped her head lightly. There are such ridiculous things in the world. She really has the disease of cannot live without Fu Nanli. Is this considered fate ordained by God? She took a pen and wrote and drew unconsciously on the notebook, and all she wrote was the number 13. 13 days is quite a long time. As a girlfriend, it is usually not more than 13 days without seeing each other. Her heart felt a little clogged. If one day, he regained his memory, where would she go? If he was angry that she had lied to her and was unwilling to see her again or save her, she would not be in a position to blame him. After all, she was wrong first. She reached out and touched her heart. Before that, she hoped to find another way to survive. She couldn't put all her desire for survival on Fu Nanli alone. Su Shen couldn't understand why the son of a real estate giant wanted to live outside and entrusted him to handle the matter. But the captain gave the order, and he had to get things done no matter what. The only condition was that it was close to Shuiying Road. He contacted the agency. When he went to the agency, he carefully looked at the situation of this high-end real estate. It clearly says, developer, Zhonghuan Group. They were all the houses owned by Mr. Fu, but he came to rent a house. As long as he is happy. High-end apartment, on the top floor, with one staircase and one apartment, excellent privacy, duplex apartment, area of 200 square meters, with floor-to-ceiling windows, good view, fine decoration, all furniture and appliances are high-end luxury brands. He took a few photos, showed it to his captain, who expressed satisfaction. Su Shen thought, if you are not satisfied with the product developed by your company, wouldn't you tear it down? Just sign the contract in your name, and I've already transferred the money to you. Ding, 1 million has been received. Su Shen took a deep breath. The monthly rent of this house is 20,000 yuan. After all, the captain is a wealthy man. He doesn't know the sufferings of the world, and his salary starts with 1 million yuan. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 77. Captain, currently you have to pay 3 mortgages and 1 mortgage, and the rent is 20,000 yuan a month. You've made too many calls. I will stay here for a long time, and you will be responsible for paying the rent from now on. Let me know when you are done with it. Su Shen almost burst into tears with gratitude. Nearly $1 million was lying in his account, and the interest amounted to more than 20,000 yuan a year. Thanks to the local tycoon for the reward. I plan to move out. Fu Nanli put down his mobile phone and returned to the side hall, so casually mentioned. Fu Huaiyang frowned. Yamingkaiu, Fu Nanli's mother, clicked her tongue. Now that you are flying all over the world, it is difficult to even see you. You want to move out? Where are you going to move to? You are the one flying all over the world. I only fly fixed routes to the sea city of Munich. The community I moved to is closer to the airport, so it is convenient to come and go. Fu Huaiyang was unhappy. You really take that captain seriously? Didn't you say he would retire after flying 10 million kilometers? Why do you still want to move out? Fu Nanli looked calm and said, then I will go out to live for a year. Grandpa probably can't bear to see me arrive at the airport at 3 or 4 in the morning and have to take more than an hour of driving to get home. You quit that job now. Why do you have to suffer like this? Seeing that the old man was unhappy, Yamingkaiu quickly comforted him. Dad, forget it, Let him live outside for a year. It is true that the airport is a bit far from Xiaotangshan. Oh, by the way, Nan Li bought a team 2 days ago. I heard that it has now become the most promising team of the M Country Rugby League Club. Although this kid has not yet entered into business, he has inherited your extraordinary business talent and has extremely precise vision. If the Autumn League is closed, winning the championship will further increase the team's commercial value. Fu Huiyang's anger subsided a little. Really? Why didn't you tell me, Nan Li? Yamingkai brought a cup of tea. This child has always done more and talked less. You don't know him well. It's okay to live outside. You have to come back for dinner at least once a week or half a month. New. Aunt Chin, go up and help him pack his luggage, and ask Aunt Chin to follow you. No, I just live there and don't need anyone to take care of me. Yamingkai put her hands on her hips. Can you sweep the floor? Mop the floor? Do laundry? Cook? You don't know anything, how can you live alone? No need, I will. After that, he went straight upstairs. Uncle Li was worried. The young master wanted to move out because of the little girl. The girl was young but very clever, and the young master actually obeyed her words. Yamingkai went upstairs. In the room, Aunt Chin was packing his luggage. He took a sherry barrel whiskey from the wine cabinet and put 2 ice cubes in the glass. You and I will go together to the charity auction dinner held by your Aunt CK magazine on Saturday. Political and business celebrities, as well as big-name stars in the entertainment industry, will all be present. Not interested? Fu Nanli is a typical male engineering major. He studied astrophysics at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He is interested in mechanical engineering and obtained a double degree through self-study. I am not interested in these Vanity Fair things. I have to go. I know it's not convenient for you to work in the aviation bureau. There is a small private room on the 2nd floor. You don't need to socialize. I want to give your aunt face, do you hear me? Fu Nanli took a sip of wine and said nothing, so he agreed. After his mother left the room, he made another phone call and went out. The night was thick. He said a few words in a deep voice and put away the phone. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 78. The Wen family was in the thermal sensing business. Wen Jianmin had a lot of connections and finally got into contact with the Fu family and did some marginal cooperation. I didn't expect to make any money from the Fu family, but it would be nice to talk about it if I could get in touch with the Fu family. But I didn't expect that such a marginal business would suddenly become useless. The project manager of Zhonghuanan district called Wen Jianmin directly and said that he had found a new supplier. Wen Jianmin was a little confused. Once his connections were cut off, it would be even more difficult for him to join the Fu family in the future. Mr. Huang, isn't our cooperation always good? It was someone close to our young master who called me personally, saying that it was your daughter Sulu who made our young master unhappy. Mr. Wen, you must discipline her well and don't let your child mess up big things. Wen Jianmin couldn't believe it. His stepdaughter had always been well-behaved, well-educated, and well-educated. When she was taken out, her elders all praised her. How could she offend the eldest young master of the Fu family? At the dinner table at the Wen family, Wen Jianmin's face was ashen, and Zhong Hui was panicking. Jianmin, what's wrong with you? Wen Jianmin looked at Sulu. Why did you offend the young master of the Fu family? Sulu's heart skipped a beat. Where would she have the chance to offend that aloof young master? What she provoked was Wen Qiao. Jianmin, what are you talking about? How can we, Lulu, have the chance to meet that young master? Wen Jianmin grinned at his teeth. The company finally managed to establish some relationship with the Fu family. The eldest young master said that the business is gone. The young master said it himself, saying that Sulu provoked him. Sulu's face turned pale. Fu Nanli actually stood up for Wen Qiao. Wen Zhuangyan was facing her, and now there was another Fu Nanli. She was obviously pretending, just to frame her. Why can't they see her tricks and methods? She said with red eyes, Uncle Wen, I really don't know anything. I have never met the eldest young master of the Fu family. Wen Jianmin was full of anger and had nowhere to vent. Zhong Hui took advantage of the situation and said, there must be a misunderstanding. Jianmin, find an opportunity to find out what went wrong. Wen Jianmin felt depressed, so he said you are not allowed to cause trouble again, dropped his chopsticks and went upstairs with a displeased face. Sulu's tears fell down. Wen Qiao, wait. Xuying Road, Saihewan. Wen Qi knocked on the door and leaned against the door. Wen Mo and I are going back to school tomorrow. He will participate in the Summer Olympics math competition, and I will participate in a hockey game. New. The sound of roaring motorcycles sounded next door, and Wen Kai's eyes lit up. I'm going to take a look at Brother Kai's big motorcycle. Wen Qiao glanced at the young man who only had a hurried back, and shook his head. He loved everything except studying. It was really sad. The next day, when Fu Nanli made a video call from Munich, Uncle Ji from the convenience store came in with her mother carrying an air conditioner. Her mother's voice came, Mingyuan, I really don't need an air conditioner in my house. I'm not afraid of the heat. Ji Mingyuan, why aren't you afraid of the heat? Your room is small and faces the west. The sun shines all afternoon. It won't get too hot at night. I'll install it for you. How much? I'll give it to you. No money, just treat it as a bonus for you. If you work in my store, the customers will be very satisfied. I want money. Then there was the sound of an electric drill, and Uncle Ji seemed to be drilling. Wen Qiao closed the door and answered his video call. Because of the jet lag, it seemed to be late at night there. It was dark outside the French window behind him. He was wearing a nightgown, his hair was slightly damp and messy covering his forehead. Laziness spread all over his body, and his hands he held a glass of water in his hand, took a sip, and frowned slightly. What's that sound again? Thanks for your support. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 79. Wen Qiao smiled and said, punch holes. Punch. Well, an uncle is installing air conditioning in my house. The two chatted casually for a few words. The noise outside was too loud and the chatting environment was too bad. Wen Qiao had to say, that's it, you go to bed early. Fu Nanli had no intention of hanging up the phone and looked at her, the house has been decided. I will move there after this flight. It is close to Xuying Road. Wen Qiao was moved by his efficiency. He took everything she said to heart. The more this happened, the more guilty it made her, and the more dependent she became on this man unconsciously. Uncle Ji installed the air conditioner, and the back of his t-shirt was wet. Su Yun wanted to give him money, so Ji Mingyuan took the toolbox and trotted away from their yard. Wen Qiao stood by the door, Mom, Uncle Ji installed air conditioning in our house, but you didn't even let me eat. Su Yun pinched the money in her hand, after dinner, go and give him money. We can't take advantage of others for nothing. Mom, I think Uncle Ji is pretty good. Look, he's only 40. He's not bad looking. He's about 176 in height. He's not short anymore. He's hardworking and down to earth. I heard that his family was divided into two when it was demolished. It's a sweet. Su Yun glanced at her sideways, girl, where did you hear this? That's what Fat Ant said. Fat Ant also wants to introduce her to her sister. Didn't her sister divorce her husband? Fat Ant is keeping an eye on Uncle G. Mom, you have to seize the opportunity. Suyun pretended to be angry. Little girl Jianzi, it's your business to worry about adults, go away. After that, he went to the kitchen to cook. Wen Xiao's cell phone rang. It was Xiaobai. She answered the phone and heard Xiaobai's panicked voice, Sister Xiao, there's a fight. Brother Qi is fighting with someone. Wen Xiao's face darkened and he walked out. Where? Back door of the school, come here quickly, we can't hold him back. Wen Xiao put away his cell phone and ran outside. Just as his neighbor Kai Ge came back on his motorcycle, Wen Xiao stepped forward and said, Brother Kai, lend me your motorcycle. Seeing her anxious look, Brother Kai got excited and took off his helmet to give it to her. Wen Xiao had already mounted the bike and turned the handle, making the motorcycle make a woo-woo sound. It wasn't until the motorcycle rushed out like an arrow from its string that Brother Kai shouted after him, Xiao, can you ride? Wen Xiao was riding a heavy motorcycle all the way, and stopped suddenly at the back door of the junior high school of number 9 middle school, with one long leg on the ground. Wen Xiao parked his motorcycle, rushed over, and grabbed Wen Kai's fist that was about to fall. Xiao Qi, stop. Xiao Qi, calm down. Wen Qi was still shouting, and Wen Xiao asked Xiaobai loudly, what's going on? Xiaobai's nose was bruised and his face was swollen, and he couldn't resist. They said Xiao Mo is a little mute. We saw it, and Brother Qi will. I couldn't control it all of a sudden. Wen Qi hated it when people called Wen Mo little mute. He is just sick, he is not a little mute. Wen Xiao patted Wen Qi on the back, you don't need to teach them a lesson. I'll come. Sister, come. Wen Qi, please calm down. Stop it all. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 80. Wen Xiao's voice shocked everyone present for a moment. Xiaobai and Ding Hai quickly retreated to Wen Qi, holding the man who was still emotionally unstable. Wen Xiao whispered, Ding Hai, help me keep an eye on Xiao Mo. Okay, Sister Xiao. The other party is a student from a vocational high school, located near the 9th middle school. There are many unlearned and unskilled gangsters who do all kinds of blackmail. In the previous life, it was these students from the vocational high school who bullied Wen Mo. One of the younger brothers was beaten to a disability by Wen Qi, and Wen Qi was imprisoned for this. And Xiao Mo. Because he felt guilty for putting his brother in jail, he took pills and committed suicide. There were 5 people in total, all of them looked at Wen Xiao with a sneer, why is there a beautiful sister here? She is prettier than Guyi, so she can be our boss's girlfriend. She seems to be the little mute sister. Wen Xiao's eyes were sharp and cold, he stretched out his hands to stretch his muscles, ran over, volleyed in the air, and kicked the yellow-haired boss in the chest. The yellow-haired boss was kicked back by Wen Xiao and fell to the ground. On the ground. Wen Xiao stepped on his chest, I want to be your girlfriend? Can you say it again? The 5-person vocational high school team didn't seem to expect that Wen Xiao turned out to be a trainee, and they quickly helped their boss up. The 2 tall men clenched their fists and rushed forward together. Wen Mo wanted to step forward to help his sister, but Ding Hai held him back, don't do it a disservice. Sister Xiao should be fine. Last time it was also 1 against 5. Brother Qi was able to support several of them, but Sister Xiao easily dealt with them. These people from vocational colleges are just looking at bluffing people. Wen Mo's eyes were red and he clenched his fists, feeling frightened and worried. Wen Xiao grabbed a fist as big as a sandbag and held it down on his shoulder. With a little help, she flew into the air sideways and kicked the 2 people who were rushing towards her. The 2 people were knocked to the ground. She landed firmly and punched him out. On the chest of a tall man. The tall man groaned. Xia Bodinghai was dazzled by what he saw. Just like last time, those students from the vocational high school were helpless. After a while, they were all dealt with by Sister Chiao. Sister Chiao is mighty. Sister Chiao is awesome. Wen Chiao walked step by step to the boss of the 5-person group, grabbed the yellow hair, and stepped on his chest. The boss was scared now. Sister, we were wrong. Bang, Wen Chiao slapped him. Little mute. Who is the little mute? Huang Moken was horrified. Everyone calls him that. He doesn't speak, but that's just. Wen Chiao picked him up and slammed him against the wall. How much did you cost him? Huang Mao trembled and took out money from his pocket. 100 yuan. Your brother has a total of 100 yuan. I mean, in total, how much did you knock him out from before to now? Sister, I can't remember. Wen Chiao slapped him on the head again. Sister, I'll give you some time, right here. Calculate how much you've paid our little Mo. If you don't spit it out today, I'll break one of your legs. Huang Mao was so scared that he cried. Why is he more ruthless than Lieutenant Colonel No. 9 Ba Wenqi? The 5-member vocational high school team squatted on the ground, took out their mobile phones, and began to count the total amount of money they had knocked on Wen Mo with trembling hands. After 20 minutes of calculation, Wen Chiao lost all his patience and kicked Huang Mao's leg. Is it so difficult to calculate? Huang Mao said with a sad face, Sister, our grades are not good. If we can calculate it so quickly, we won't go to vocational high school. Wen Chiao put one hand in his pocket. It seems that there were a lot of knocks. It took so long to calculate it.